Well, our motivation was, the theme was spot on in terms of a stakeholder community, an institutional investor group that we think holds a great deal of promise for Africa's investments in various areas that are sustainable. That would include infrastructure, industry, agribusiness, of course, financial services. There's a whole range of economic sectors that are very sustainable and attractive, that give good risk-adjusted returns. So for us, we are active across all of these sectors, but for us to succeed, we need partners. As a bank, we put a lot of debt finance. Occasionally, we'll put a form of equity, quasi-equity, but we need long-term equity-type investors to come in and actually take stakes in some of these opportunities, stakes that will actually help unlock our participation as well. Well, we cover Eastern and Southern Africa. That's almost half the continent. We're fortunate to be working in a market space where economic growth on average is 5-6%, because many of the East African economies are growing very robustly. And so for us, our strategy is to continue providing the specialized finance in trade, infrastructure finance, industrial finance, in many of these fast-growing economies that clearly need an institution like us, not just to participate, but in many cases to lead transactions, and then to bring in other specialized investors alongside with us, be they other banks or pension funds or sovereign wealth funds. I think that the one takeaway is the imperative of being a little bit more innovative and responding to the big challenge of investing in the real economy as opposed to just in stock markets, capital markets. That really requires much more focus by African institutional investors. And of course, the problem is it's not easy. And I think the second message is, it's one thing to respond to the imperative, but the other question that arises is, how do you do it? And the response to that is partnerships. So it's about the imperative, and it's about smart partnerships to unlock the opportunities that we all know are there. The other message, of course, is African pension funds have to provide a form of leadership. You cannot expect institutional investors from around the world to come into the region and provide leadership when African FIs, African institutional investors, are not doing their part. So I think the other message was, as the African Union continues to champion this 5% agenda around getting more alternative investments, so to speak, infrastructure, to become more representative in the portfolios of pension funds, clearly, that is about leadership. Because if we don't do it as Africans, a refocusing on this imperative to get African institutional capital to come into asset classes such as infrastructure, of course not sacrificing the requirement of sustainability and to ensure that the fiduciary duties are coming through as well. I think that's one key message, is more needs to be done. We're not getting enough traction. That was the key message. But more importantly, how does one begin to enter this space in a manner that is sustainable? And the how really spoke to partnerships with various role players. It's both development finance institutions as well as governments. Governments have a very important responsibility here in terms of ensuring that the ecosystem around public-private partnerships, ecosystem around concessions, when agreements are made, they're stuck to, so that there's consistency and reliability. The ecosystem is key, but then development finance institutions also have an important role to play in terms of facilitating the deal making by providing the necessary debt, and in some cases participating in some of the equity as well, and bringing, of course, all of the technical and network resource that DFIs have to bring to the table. And that together creates the complete circle for an investment to be consummated. So partnerships is key. And I think in a meeting like this, you've got banks that have come in to actually send the message to the pension funds that we see them as very strategic long-term fellow partners.